What's going on, guys? So this is the first video for the manual swap series. Today we're going to talk about the workload and preparing and how to go about starting a manual swap for one of these cars. So basically the preparation is almost as important as doing the swap itself. So knowing what goes where all the parts, how all the parts come together. When you actually start working on the car and ripping the thing apart, you actually know how it's supposed to go back together. Now preparation is a little more important if it's your daily driver. I know a lot of you guys, your E36 is your only car and it's automatic and you do want to manual swap it, and being prepared for the swap is going to help you a lot more than say you have just a project car. Maybe it's your weekend car or you're just working on it, you have another car to drive. With a project car like that, you do still want to have a good amount of preparation, but it is key if it is your daily driver. So let's say you're all ready, you start ripping the car apart, it's in the air, the automatic transmission's out, you got the flywheel clutch on, you got the transmission back in, you put your slave cylinder on, and you're missing a little clip that holds the shifter onto the transmission, or the clutch line is wrong. Last place you want to realize you're missing parts or the parts don't fit and they don't work together is when the car is already apart. If it is your daily driver and you figure out, oh, I got the wrong clutch line, I forgot to buy the line between the master and the soft clutch line. Well, guess what? It's freaking Saturday evening. No Napa, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, they're not going to carry that line. BMW opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, but guess what? You have work at 7:30 and this is your only car. And your car is completely apart, and now you either have to put the automatic transmission back in it, and it's just a huge mess. The last place you want something like that to happen is when you're already working on the car. If you can figure out how the swap goes together, all the parts, all the tools you need, be prepared for it, something like that is probably not going to happen and the swap is going to go easily. When I swapped the convertible, I had a window of 3 days off work when I had to get it done. Basically, I pulled the shop in Friday night. Tuesday morning I had to be at work, and so I had to make sure everything went perfectly. So before I started the swap, everything was already planned. Everything was in set. I was already ready for it, and it took me 3 full days to swap it. Got it out Monday night, rolling on the road with the 5-speed in it, and it was perfect. Now, of course, I had never driven a stick before, so that was kind of ugly trying to get to work on the next day. That's what this first handful of videos about the manual swap is going to be. It's going to be all preparing yourself so you understand how the swap works, getting all the parts in order, make sure you have the right parts, getting your tools in order, getting ready to minimize the amount of time that the car is apart. We are manual swapping my sedan, and yes, this is my daily driver, and I need this thing to be back on the road basically the day I finish the swap. So if it is your daily driver, you're going to want to spend a little bit more extra time preparing the swap. I did want to wait till the convertible is done and running and dailyable before I swapped it in case something like that happened where I can't drive it, but freaking send it, dude. We're just going to do it anyway. And you will need to do a good amount of research on the swap aside from these videos. These videos are here to help you and assist you. They shouldn't be your only source for manual swapping. In the description of this video, I will be leaving multiple threads and multiple websites. Basically, just spend some time, watch all the videos, read the threads, go through the website, and just basically get and understand how the swap goes together. So that way you have a better understanding. Manual swapping one of these cars isn't as simple as replacing spark plugs or swapping ignition coils or even removing and reinstalling the intake manifold. There is a lot of things that are sort of unorthodox with it. It's fairly direct, but at the same time each car is different. You know, this car is completely different from a 318 IS or an OBD1 325. So there are different parts for each car, and how the whole system goes together is basically the same. But still, you want to have a good understanding of how it all goes together, how everything works before you start ripping your car apart. So the swap is more grunt work than it is meticulous work, and what I mean by that is like doing a cylinder head gasket. That's pretty meticulous work. You have to get the head bolts torqued properly, you have to install the vanos correctly. That's more of like skilled work. You have to understand what you're doing with this. With the manual swap, it is like that in a sense, but at the same time it's more grunt work, as in you're on your back, you're going to be lifting the transmission, lifting the drive shaft, lifting the exhaust up, and it's a little bit of a pain. Like you guys, I will be doing the manual swap with this car completely on jack stands. I don't have a lift I can work on. And imagine if you had a car lift, the swap would be a lot easier. Majority of it's just going to be on your back, like lifting the transmission, lifting the drive shaft, stuff like that. So it is a lot of work trying to get a 200-pound transmission up in the air when it's freaking laying next to you, you know? So you're definitely going to want to have some friends to help you out with this. It's definitely not one of the easiest jobs to do, but it is absolutely doable. Before I did the manual swap on the convertible there, the only thing I had really done was basic maintenance. Changed the oil, rotated the tires, checked the air on the tires, stuff like that, you know, fill the coolant because my cooling system leaked, of course. But before that, I had never really done any meticulous work. I think the hardest thing I've ever done before that was replace the valve cover. And so being that level of new to working on cars, I just figured out everything I need, figured it all out, and the first major job I ever did on a car was actually manual swapping that car. And I did it when I was 18, so it's not really hard. You just have to do a lot of your research and figure out how everything goes together. Basically just surround yourself by parts threads and videos and talking to other people who've done it. They just get a good idea of what it takes to get one of these things swapped. As far as workload goes, it's not technical work. It's basically just unbolt the old transmission, unbolt the torque converter, bolt on the clutch, bolt on the flywheel, put the transmission back on, stuff like that. It's not as difficult per se as installing a Vanos unit. I think if you've done a cylinder head gasket on one of these cars before, you are more than qualified to do the manual swap. And even if this is your first time working on a car, it's totally doable. So in these next handful of videos, it's going to be all about prepping. We're going to go through the parts you need, how to find the parts for your car. We're going to go through the tools you need, all the wiring the reverse lights, messing with the computer to get it to work right, you know, preparing for the swap. We're going to take all of our parts, we're going to put the entire swap together outside of the car so you can make sure that all of your parts fit together and everything works right. We're going to go through everything. So if you are planning on doing the swap, I would suggest reading all of the threads and forums that I posted down below, along with following the rest of these preparation videos. They will help you tremendously when you're swapping your car. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I will see you guys later.